Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode to inspire you to make a career change. And I just wanted to mention very briefly that if you're listening to this on a podcast, like Apple or Spotify, and actually prefer to watch things on YouTube, then you can also find this on YouTube. And the opposite is true. If you're watching this on YouTube and actually you prefer to just listen on Apple or Spotify, then you can find these recordings there too. And I'll put a link in the show notes afterwards. That's the spiel over, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Jen today. And the reason I'm interviewing Jen today is because I attended one of her wonderful workshops recently, which was, well, she just created this beautiful space for women to actually just take an hour, I think it was an hour out of their day to just take a deep breath, have a cup of tea, chill out. There was some lovely meditation to go with it. And Jen just made us, I don't know, reconnect with ourselves, I guess. And the reason that I was so drawn to her and wanting to pick her brain is because she shared at the beginning that she used to work for a big wealth management company and experienced burnout, and obviously went through a bit of a tough time with that, and has come out the other end. And she shared a bit of her journey, but I'm really excited to explore more of that today. So thanks so much for agreeing to be on this podcast with me today, Jen.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
So can we jump straight into what was the situation? How come you were in this job that was making you feel stressed and burnt out at the time?
So I guess it kind of goes back several years before that. So I mean, I left my job 6 years ago this year, and way before that, I went through the whole school, college, university. I was very academic and, A-star student, went through university, got a first-class maths degree, and was kind of on the path to having this very bright, shiny career. And after taking a year out to go traveling, I settled down and got my dream job in financial services as an actuary, which is sort of risk, finance, insurance, that sort of thing. And was really, really happy and pleased, and kind of worked my way up through 8 years in the company, and sort of was headhunted for different roles, took on lots of projects, ended up managing a team. And from the outside, everything looked great. I sailed through all my exams, I got qualified, I took on more responsibility, and did everything you should do as an up and coming young professional. And I looked the part. I had the shiny suit, I had the shiny hair, I had the company car, the perfect house, all of this. It wasn't perfect, as we'll probably get to. But yeah, I was basically doing everything one is expected to do, when you get good grades and you have ambition and all of this. And I was just, working my way up, and everything looked great on paper, until it wasn't.
Can I interrupt you very
Yeah.
briefly? Because you've mentioned the word should quite a lot, and I'm always intrigued by that.
Yes.
For you, where did the should come from?
Yeah, great question. And I use it deliberately because I'm very careful not to use the word should these days. And yeah, it's like, where does that come from? We put so many shoulds on ourselves. And for me, I don't really know where it came from, other than there was this very clear path and it felt like the obvious thing to do. And I didn't, have pressure put on me by my parents or things like that, but it just felt almost like this societal kind of, you should work hard, you should, earn a good living, you should use your skills. And it was kind of, if there is a ladder, you should climb it, kind of thing. So it was just this, I think it was this combination of just wanting to do my parents proud. They never, they didn't go into but I was one of the most academic sort of people in my family, basically, and you know, had the highest level of education in terms of formal education, and I was the first to sort of work in, well, my brother kind of worked in corporate, but it was almost like trying to do my family proud, I think, and you know, my parents were really excited for me when I got this job, and it felt like, yeah, I should make the most of that. And you know, I had all the things I could do with that money. You know, I was on a, you know, worked up to quite a good salary, and could have gone a lot further. And yeah, there's something about our culture that's kind of like, you should aim for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I totally interrupted your flow. I was just
No, it's
interested to hear where
fine.
that came from. So you were achieving all this, I guess what people would call success,
Yeah.
from the outside. Absolutely, people would
Yeah.
say, "There goes successful Jen."
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Yeah, I know. It all kind of hit rather suddenly. You know, I had the, you know, successful, promising career. I was well respected in the company I worked for. I had a great team. I had, you know, the perfect relationship on paper. I had the beautiful townhouse, and you know, the exotic holidays, and it all looked great.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day it just kind of came crumbling down. I think I'd been putting more and more masks on and juggling more and more balls. My partner was a junior doctor, and so I was supporting her a lot. She was very, very busy and stressed, and we'd bought this house together, and there was a lot of pressure that came with that, or that I chose to take on to support her to, you know, do more in the house. I took on this commute because we'd moved. I was managing a team. My dad had been unwell, and I'd been supporting him. There was just more and more that I was saying yes to. And actually, it was physically that I noticed first. I kept getting migraines, and I was just exhausted. And I was, you know, going to have it was awful, but naps, like sitting on the floor in the bathroom, because I just couldn't stay awake at my desk. And I actually went to the doctor, and I said, look, I keep getting these migraines, I'm exhausted. And she just looked at me and she said, can you tell me a bit more what's going on, you know, in the rest of your life? And I just broke down in tears. And it was,
Gosh, isn't that the
yeah,
question we want every GP to be asking?
exactly. I know. It's not just, oh, here's some tablets. It was like, tell me
That's
what's
nice
going
to
on in
hear.
your life.
Yeah,
And it was kind of just having that permission to go, oh, I don't have to pretend everything's okay.
yeah.
And someone taking the time to care.
Mm,
You know, I had great managers and things like that, but at work, it was very much, you know, about work.
yeah.
Um, so the doctor came, and then after that, you know, my manager did actually stop and ask me what was going on. Um, and you know, I kind of broke down on her as well, and it was kind of, it was a scary moment, actually, because it was almost like the lid got taken off,
Mm,
and I kind of just crumbled. And I ended up being signed off work with depression for a couple of months in the end, and then I did go back on phased return, but it was almost like I had to fall apart to realize that I wasn't happy. I was actually miserable in my relationship. I was miserable in the house I was in. Like, there was no garden. And for
mm,
anyone that knows me, you know, my thing is nature and stuff, right? So, you know, I lived in this house that actually I didn't really want to be in. I was in a relationship I didn't want to be in. Work was okay, except I was knackered and burnt out, and all of this. And I got to the point where I hit rock bottom, and I just didn't know where to go. I felt really stuck. And a
mhm.
way I describe it is that I'd built myself this beautiful cage,
Yeah.
and it was like, how do I get out of that? You know, I didn't know how to change it. And I was really lucky. I got to work with an amazing coach who helped me just start to unpick that belief that I was stuck. And she really helped me start piecing things back together. Um, and crucially, she helped me tap back into a vision I had for what I actually wanted for my life. But it was that space and not being at work that gave me the chance to tune into that, and to have someone that could hear that and not judge me for it. You know, I'd been quite judged by my partner and things in the past. And I remember distinctly being told, you can't hug trees for a living. And so I shut that part of me away. And it was, working with this coach helped me realize that no, it was okay to have dreams like that. And it, you know, potentially I could hug trees for a living. Working with her started to piece things back together.
That's really nice to hear. So then what was the process from then on? So you were signed off sick for a couple of months. And then what happened?
So originally I was signed off for a couple of weeks, and this was midwinter. This was actually, I think it was between Christmas and New Year I actually got signed off. And I started working with this coach in January, and it took a good few weeks to kind of trust myself and to trust that space. And it turned out that actually I realized I didn't want to be in the relationship anymore, but it took me a long time to build up the courage and the belief in myself that I could choose to leave. So I ended up choosing to leave the relationship, which was really, really painful. But once I'd made that decision, that was one weight kind of off my shoulders. And from that, I gradually just started to tune into, you know, what is it I want? And I ended up working with this coach for a couple of years. And over the course of the first year, I went back to work in a phased return and was like, you know, got back, but realized that this isn't, you know, it's still not quite right. So then I got headhunted for a different role. I thought, great, maybe this is the answer, different role. And at first, it was exciting, something else to get stuck into, but still it wasn't feeding my soul and it wasn't really using me. So then I went down to 4 days a week. It's like, okay, which at my age, at that point, I was 30, I think, 21, 29, 30, something like that. And that was career, you know, deemed by many to be career suicide, you know, a young up and coming, junior sort of management, to go part-time when I didn't have children. I didn't have a good reason to go part-time. But for me, it was like, my energy still wasn't very good and I got really tired. So it was like, maybe a day will help me. But also it was like, well, maybe that day I could do some things that will bring me more joy. So I did some volunteering out on a care farm project and things like that. And that still wasn't enough. I was still, you know, the role was just not right. And eventually I had a really good conversation with the head of HR, when one day I'd just been at my desk in tears, realizing that I was bored witless. I wasn't being used to my full potential. And once again, I didn't know where I was going. I remember sitting at my desk in these cubicles. I could just about see a window, but out there was just a car park. And I remember thinking, this is not going to be my life for the next 40 years. So I went and had this conversation with head of HR, and she was great. And she encouraged me to look further than beyond, because at the same time, I'd been in this company since I graduated for 8 years. And I was like, I had the fear of, well, what else can I do? Thankfully, working with this coach, I'd had this ember of an idea of bringing my passion for working with people and coaching, and my passion for being outside and the power of nature to heal and inspire and connect. I had that as an idea of a business. And basically, to cut a long story short, when I started looking around for other roles in the company, I just thought, nothing is calling me but this little idea of a business that I could build just was calling me too much, and I couldn't ignore it. So in the end, I just thought, you know what, if I don't try to do this now, while I'm single, I've got no dependents, you know, when am I gonna have a chance to try this again? So I decided to leave with nothing else to go to, which was slightly terrifying.
Anything worth doing is slightly terrifying, I
Exactly, exactly. If it doesn't scare you and excite you a little bit, it's not the right thing.
So how did you overcome that fear?
um with a great coach. I have to say, I mean, seriously, whenever you're trying to do something, you need someone that's got your back, and
Mhm.
not just supporting you and going, yeah, 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 do it, but also, checking in and challenging you, and
Yeah.
not just letting you go crazy, right? um but I kept coming back to, what's the worst that could happen? It's like, okay, I had a little pot of money saved up, not huge amounts, but I had a little bit, and I was like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I give it a go, it doesn't work, I have some great qualifications, I can always get another job.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, so what have I got to lose, really? So I just decided to give it go. And I can't remember if I gave myself a time frame or what, but I was just like, there's got to be a way. I will always regret it if I don't
Mhm.
try.
Mhm.
So I decided to do it, but also to kind of, I also was very clear, I didn't just want to go straight into something else. So I decided to take some time out, and I actually fulfilled a big dream of mine, which was to do a big walk for charity. And I actually walked from Land's End to John O'Groats.
Oh, amazing.
I know, so I spent 3.5 months doing that when I left my job. So
Fantastic.
that
You do that
also,
on your own, Jen?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I
fantastic. What an
decided,
adventure.
I know, it was amazing. So that really gave me something to focus on that
Mm.
I could then do, and it was off the back of that, that gave me um a kind of another springboard, as it were, to promote myself and my fledgling business, kind of the other side of that.
Yeah, amazing. And did you have time while you were doing this 3-month walk to really just I don't know, get clear about what your venture was going to look like, or
Um,
was that not part of the
well, you'd kind of think so, wouldn't you? But it's amazing when you spend all day walking. I didn't do as much thinking as you think I might.
Mhm.
But certainly what was powerful was the space
Mhm.
and the simplicity of it. Certainly the walk, I mean, it was life changing, cliche, but life changing to know, I was capable of it physically and mentally and emotionally.
Mhm.
Um, to know that I could do that with literally just the bag on my back. I had everything I needed on my back, and yes, I had to get food and stuff on the way, but knowing I could survive
Mhm.
also gave me a lot of strength and courage to know that if I could do that, I could do anything,
Yeah.
and I could put up with a lot. And yeah, the element of walking and spending 3.5 months outdoors effectively, um, fed a lot into my business, and definitely kind of nurtured this idea of working with people outdoors, helping them to access courage and strength and resilience and space and creativity and all of that by being outdoors. And so it definitely shaped my business and my beliefs, and what I do now. Yeah, and it's a cool story.
It's a really cool story. I love
Yeah.
it. And as you were creating this business, or even perhaps even since you've built the business, have there been times where you've doubted yourself? That's a very leading question, isn't it?
um yes and no. I've never regretted it.
Mhm.
uh there have been plenty of times it has been hard. I've been in business for 5.5 years, I suppose, but it's been 5 years since I've been actively running stuff.
Yeah.
But I left nearly 6 years ago, and there have been plenty of times where I've been like, I was just about to swear then. Oh dear, I don't know how I'm going to pay the rent this month, or where is the money coming from, especially in the early days. And I ended up, and I got a job in a farm shop and cafe to bring in some money while I was, retraining.
Mhm.
I invested a lot in myself, tens of thousands of pounds over the last, however many years, in myself, in my business, in training. And that was sometimes really scary. So, and yeah, there's always you know, is this gonna work? Is this something that people are gonna want? Can I do this? You know, self-employment and running a business is very different from turning up for a 9 to 5 job every day.
Yeah.
And it takes a different kind of energy. So yeah, there were times where I was like, "Phew, you know, can I actually do this?"
Yeah.
But it's never been an option to go back to, you know, job. It's never been enough to be, oh gosh, I'm just going to get a job again.
Yeah.
Um,
I really like that you talk about the different energy, because I think that's so true. It's
yeah,
it is a totally different energy, and and it is an adjustment, I think, when you come out of the 9 to 5 where you're
yeah,
basically told what to do with your days every
yeah,
day,
yeah,
and you're told what you're expected to achieve.
yeah.
Suddenly
And
have
in what
half
hours?
yeah, exactly, and sit
Yeah,
at that desk and do that job. And I
yeah,
think it is it's a mind shift, isn't it? And it is a shift in
definitely.
energy.
And
I
the fact
haven't
that,
thought about it that way before, but
yeah, and work doesn't have to look like, for me, it took me quite a while to get out of the mindset of I must be at my desk 9 to 5. You know,
yeah,
if I'm not at my desk, I'm not working, and it must be between the hours of this and this. Whereas
yeah,
now it's like I don't start work before 10, often 11 in the winter, because I'm, you know, I in my business I work very much with the seasons, but it's like I'm not at my best before 10 o'clock, so I don't start work before 10 o'clock.
yeah,
Yes, I'll get at, you know, I'll get up at 8 maybe in the winter, and I'll go out for a walk. I'll do my morning pages. I'll go, like this morning I went horse riding, and didn't start until 12. And sometimes I'll work a bit later. You know, I work a lot of weekends because I run retreats out in the wild. Um, so often I'm off during the week, and it's, you know, but I work with my energy now rather than feeling I have to be at my desk at a certain point in time, because that just isn't
absolutely.
actually fruitful for me.
And being ridiculously unproductive, but I'm at my desk.
Exactly. I'm at my desk,
Fine.
so I am working, you know. I can get as much done in 2 hours as I could in a whole day, you know, if I choose the right time to do it.
Completely, without a shadow of a
Yeah.
doubt. Yeah, it's amazing
Yeah.
what you can achieve, isn't it?
Definitely.
When you're
But
not.
also remembering, for me, things like, you know, going for a walk, riding the horse, having a shiatsu appointment, going dancing. For
Mm,
me, those are part of my work now.
yeah,
And that was a big mindset shift for me.
yeah, yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And you've said that you've invested all this money and time and
Yeah.
energy, if we're talking about
Yeah.
energy,
Yeah.
in yourself. So I'm
Mhm.
curious to know what you've learned about yourself. Probably a lot of things, but what's the thing that springs to mind when I ask you what you've learned about yourself over the last six
Ooh,
years?
oh gosh, yes. I have learned to trust me. Like, I've actually learned who I am, not who I should be or who other people think I am, but who I am and who I bring and what I bring to my work, and how to work to those strengths. You know, I'm very aware of what I'm not good at, and I'm very aware of who I'm not. So I
Hmm.
just show up and be me.
Yeah,
And I've learned that some people will like that and some people won't. And that's fine, because they're not my people.
yeah,
So I think, yeah, it's been peeling back the layers and working out who I am and being okay and confident enough to show up as that person. Um, and yeah, the working seasonally and cyclically has been a massive shift for me, recognizing, you know, my energy is not linear the whole time. I'm a woman. I'm a human being that is still programmed to work with seasons and cycles. Um, and learning to work with those means that there'll be times where I can absolutely blitz a whole load of stuff.
yeah,
And there'll be times where I just have to curl up on the sofa. And there'll be times I'm really sociable and want to be with people. And there are times where I'm like, nah, nah, I'm done with people.
yeah.
And learning to work with that and to trust that.
Yeah. And there's so
Yeah.
much freedom in that, isn't there? In
Yes.
actually finally going, it's okay. This is how I work best. This is
Yeah,
fine. I can
exactly.
do this
Yeah, yeah.
my
And
way.
it's, yeah, exactly. And it's still hard sometimes. And I, you know, I have a coach now, and she'll remind me, she'll be like, Jen, it's okay to, you know, it's okay that you didn't work this afternoon, because you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
when you're on it, you will
Yeah.
be, you know, full steam.
Yeah.
But it still takes someone to reflect that back
It
sometimes,
does. And
even though I reflect it to my clients all the time.
it's different when you're doing it for yourself, though, isn't it?
It's like, I
There's a
just get this
wonderful,
one thing done.
yes, I need to take it off. But
Yeah.
there's there this wonderful book by Stephen Covey that I'm sure you're
Oh,
familiar with
yeah.
as well. But The 7 Habits of Highly Effective
Yeah.
People, and actually the only habit that has stuck with me, I read the book a long time ago, but the only habit that stuck with me is the sharpening the saw.
Yeah.
And I do remember that, and I think actually just taking an hour out to have a nap, to go for a walk, to meditate, to play with your dog, play with the kids, whatever it might be, cook,
Yeah.
is actually going to make you so much sharper to then do what would have taken you 2 hours, you'll do in
Yeah.
half an hour. So
Exactly.
that guilt thing, I think, was definitely something that I used to experience, not anymore.
Yeah. Good.
If you
Yeah.
could go, like if you could go and give your 29-year-old Jen a crystal
Mhm.
ball and show her where you are today, what do you think her reaction would have been?
I think she would be amazed, actually, and really, and just like, they say, a person always underestimates what they can achieve in, no, hang on, overestimates what they can achieve in a year, but underestimates what they can achieve in 5.
Yeah.
Like, if I look back, I did quite a lot of work on visioning and what do I want my life to look like and what do I want my business to look like. And yes, I've still got a way to go for the completely out there vision, but it's like, wow, I'm actually doing what I want to be doing with the people I want to be working with. And when I look, it's just like, I wouldn't have necessarily known how to get here. But looking back, I can connect the dots. And I think that's one of the Steve Jobs quotes as well. Like, it was only looking back he could connect the dots to where he was. And it was, so I think she'd be amazed and really excited, and it would have allowed her to trust even more. I think that was another big lesson, was just trust and surrender, trust and surrender. And I think if I could tell her one thing, it would be, just follow the breadcrumbs. Every little breadcrumb that feels, all the little nudges, it's like, oh, that feels good. It's just follow it,
Yeah.
and the path will become clear. Yeah.
I love that. Well, that's brilliant advice for anybody listening. That's
Follow the breadcrumbs.
yeah, very nice. I love it.
Yeah.
What does success mean to you nowadays? What does it look like? I ask this to everybody that I interview.
Yeah, success is happiness. And I don't mean happy, positive. Like, I think there's a lot of issues in today's world with like toxic positivity. And one thing, I work a lot with my clients and myself is being okay with whatever is. And so maybe contentedness is a better word than happiness. But for me, that looks like being able to work with the people I want to be working with. My clients, I love showing up on calls with them. I love showing up in the woods with them. It feels like play. So working with the right people, being able to do good in my business, whether that's make a difference in someone's lives, or to have an impact through my choices, from, I try and buy organic food, for my retreats and things, and helping share the love of nature and the ripples that makes. Being able to be flexible, being able to go, do you know what, I'm going to take 3 weeks to go on an adventure, or I'm going to take a day off and go and take my mum to the spa, or I'm going to go and spend the day in my allotment. So it's having that flexibility to be able to do the things that bring me joy aside from my work.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. And I've just realized that we've been teasing people all along, but we haven't actually told them what you do now. Do you want to give us a quick picture of what
Yeah.
the time nowadays?
Yeah. So I never quite know how to explain it. So I take women out in the woods on retreats, and so I'm a coach, trainer, and wild guide. So I help women reconnect to who they really are, get clarity about what they really want, and then rediscover the courage to go out and be that woman in the world, whatever that means to them. And I do that through one-to-one coaching and retreats out in the wild. So you'll often find me out in the woods around a fire with a group of women, or in a tent, in a hammock, out on the moors somewhere. And whether it's, right from 1-day retreats in the woods through to multi-days, through to I have a couple of year-long programs that sort of women join. But yeah, it's all about reconnecting to your inner wild woman, basically, and how she can help you thrive in all areas of your life. because she's got a lot of characteristics that I think we have been tamed out of us. So about reconnecting to those.
Discovering that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I will put your web address in the show notes as well. So anybody who's curious to find out more can have a little look, and
great.
Perhaps follow you on social media as well, because I know you share a lot of really cool and inspiring stuff. So
thank you.
Yeah, I certainly enjoy following you. So thank you so much. Do you have any final pearls of wisdom for anybody that's listening to this going, well, it's all well and good that, you know, Jen can do this, but I can't possibly do it because XYZ? What's your advice?
I believe that anything is possible. But I believe that it all starts with tuning into you. We've done a lot of shutting down the little niggles. It's like, oh, something's not right, or listening to our bodies, or trying to override our natural wisdom. So I think my tip for anybody is just try and stop and find a way to tune into your body or that natural wisdom, whether it's through movement, whether it's through being out in nature, whether it's just having some time for you. Reconnecting to that has always been my greatest wisdom in all of this. And get support. It's really hard to do it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. You need to have the right people around you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's so cool. Thank you so much, Jen. I really hope that people listening enjoy this as much as I've enjoyed it. It's been really, really fun chatting to you. And if you have been inspired by Jen's story and you're sitting there or driving along or whatever it might be, and you're thinking, do you know what, it's time for me to start making some changes with my career, whether it's a very small change or a huge leap, whichever you decide to do, then I do run programs on a regular basis, generally in groups, but also one-to-one. So if you're interested in joining that, then again, the details in the show notes. So thanks again, Jen, and goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.